Welcome. I'd like to call this December 14th, 2015 meeting of the Coolidge City Council to order and ask that the Pastor Johnson with the Community Presbyterian Church give the invocation. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards.
Friends and elected representatives of the people of Coolidge, it is my honor and pleasure to stand before you. As a minister, I'm reminded of the anecdote of the president after whom the city is named, when after returning from church one Sunday, was asked by his wife, "How was church?" "Fine." "How was the pastor's sermon?" "Good." "What did he talk about?" "Sin." But he had to say, he was against it. So I, like Coolidge, want to be concise as I offer words during this season of Advent, when those of us privileged to worship the God so many seek, and whom we who aspire to be Christians see in the form of the one born on Christmas, await that day in the celebration of his birth. This is a season when, contrary to an online comment I read today, we are not somber but joyful. And my prayer for those of you who bear a real responsibility to the people of the city is that as you do the business of the people, while you do it with full understanding of the issues and the importance and impact of what you are doing, that you are able to do it as well with joy, befitting the fact that God does indeed bless your undertaking. With no respect to those of other faiths, in the name of the one whose birth we celebrate at the end of Advent, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Norma, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gilbert Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Hudson.
Here.
Councilmember Robert Huddleston.
Here.
Mayor John Thompson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry. Here. Councilmember Gary Lewis.
Present.
And Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta. She is absent today. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Thank you, Norma. Okay. Under presentations, we have a Arbor Day proclamation, Tree City, USA. If I can find it, I'm going to read it. There it is. Whereas trees are the primary quality of life factors that a city government can provide for its citizens, and whereas trees are a delight to everybody, those who grow them and those who simply look on and enjoy their beauty, and whereas our community trees must be perpetuated to provide the benefits of aesthetics, shade, energy conservation, noise reduction, and community livability, and whereas our forefathers who settled in the desert had the foresight and courage to plant the trees we now enjoy, and whereas the climate and special beauty of the desert Southwest are valuable resources enjoyed by many and should be taken care of for the sake of our children and our children's children, and whereas the City of Coolidge has been designated as a Tree City, USA by the National Arbor Foundation for our commitment to improving the urban forestry program in our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, John Thompson, Mayor of the City of Coolidge, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 22nd, 2016, as Arbor Day in the City of Coolidge, encourage all citizens to participate in this celebration and realize its importance.
Yeah, and this is the 13th year now. We've won it for 12 years, and we're after the 13th this year.
Well, thanks, Bob. They're not waiting. It's in April, and they're hitting us already.
Yeah.
Tree guys are in time, man. Thanks. Okay. Monthly report and business spotlight recognitions by the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce. Lynn, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Audie Wood had surgery, so she can't be here, and that's who we're honoring tonight. They've been our vet since 1988. They've been here. They also have grooming and do other things in boarding in our community, so they've been a long-time asset to our community. But they couldn't be here tonight. On to Chamber reinvestments for October. Western State Bank, Heritage Environmental Services, Coolidge Unified School District, Grande Vista Motel, and the Windmill Winery. Our new members for October are Henry Brown Automotive Group, Frosting Ever After, TP Construction. And our statistics for October are our website's hits are up at 170,509. Our walk-ins are up to 643. Our phone calls are down about 13%, which is, we had about 259 phone calls. Top states that visited us, Maryland. Top country is Canada. The Casa Grande Ruins visitations for October were 4,489. Year-to-date is 62,658. Upcoming events, we have a Be Remembered Memorial at the Artisan Village tomorrow night. We also have the CDC meeting tomorrow, and we have our luncheon on Wednesday, the 16th, which we're encouraging everybody to bring a toy for tots. And December 16th, the Polar Express will be here in Coolidge. December 17th, Florence Copper Coffee Club. And December 19th, It's a Wonderful Life. And on the 19th, we have the symphony at the Performing Arts. Some of the great things that happen, we've had some great ribbon cuttings this month past for December. Jugs and Strokers and the Artisan Village and Napa, and soon the McDonald's. And we had a great success with the Christmas in the Village. That's all I have for you.
Thank you very much. Any
Thank you.
questions? Well, thank you, Lynn. Okay, the next item is call to the public, and this is an agenda item that allows people to get up and speak 3 to 5 or up to 5 minutes on a topic or subject that they want to address the council on. And bear in mind, the council cannot respond for our attorney's advice to the comments that are made. So if there's anybody here that wants to address the council, please come forward, state your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes to tell us what you think.
Council member, my name is Richard Shar, on Tags Cafe. I want to commend the city on cleanup and stuff that they're doing in the alleys. You can see from one end to the other now, which would be good for law enforcement. That's pretty much all I got to say.
Thank you, Richard.
You bet.
Is there anyone else? There is an agenda item number 13, Dennis. I don't know if there's one on the consent agenda. I guess we can pull it off, or I know there's a couple of ladies that have come a long way that may want to say a few words. Can I have them speak at the agenda item 13 to call to the public, and then unless somebody wants to pull that agenda item off, and then
Mr. Mayor, you can, if you would prefer, you could pull agenda item 13 from consent and have it heard first. You run the agenda, so you could do that.
Okay. I know that they came a long way, so then I can pull agenda item 13, resolution number 1538, a resolution of the mayor and city council, city of Coolidge, Arizona, County of Pinal, opposing closure of the Arizona training program at Coolidge, Arizona. Discussion and action. Is there anyone in the audience that cares to speak to that issue?
My name is Belinda Mills. I'm president of Friends and Family of ATPC. I've had family members there since March 19th, 1952, the first day that it opened. 2 of my twin brothers were there, and one is still there to this day, and I also have a sister there. We, as a group of family and friends from ATPC, we feel that we are being targeted again for closure, and we're just trying to get ahead of the movement so that we do have some say-so in it this time. So we would appreciate your backing us on that. There are, I believe, 364 jobs out at ATPC, and that's quite a lot for this area to lose employment. So we appreciate your consideration in this.
My name is Jonita Rains, and my sister resides on campus in a group home. And currently, we're waiting to make an appointment with the department that serves her. and in follow-up to a meeting that was held on campus back in July. And they are responding to a new regulation for Medicare and Medicaid for their income. And if the division does not comply with this regulation, my sister and the others that are in the group homes are at risk of losing their income. And so they are requesting that the 22 residents in the group homes that are on the campus to relocate in group homes within the community. And after living on campus for 52 plus years, it is just too much of a change. They're living with their family. This is the only home they know, and it's inhumane. And then the 365 jobs are also at risk because the population will decrease to 66 with this move. And so the whole campus is at risk of closure. So any action that the community can take in our support is very much appreciated. And we need a hero, and we're hoping it's the city of Coolidge. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Does anybody else have anything to say down here?
Mayor, thank you. I know this has been an issue that pops up every so often, and last time we were there, I think a lot of us were involved with we had Pete Rios on in the Senate, or I think he was Senator or House of Representatives, and he was able to help because there was a lobby from the group home industry that wanted those people moved into their houses for profit, basically. And I think the community and some other activists were able to show that it was very difficult for the citizens, for the residents of the ATC, that they were the ones that were going to suffer. And so we were able to do that back then. And of course, there's a lot of positions in the city, but the primary goal is the residents out there that need to be taken care of properly, and it would pretty much, from what I understand, would really hurt them. And so thank you for being here, speaking to us, and we'll do everything we can. I know we contact TJ, and I don't know what he can do, and TJ show up and see if we can do that. So anyway, from my end of it, I don't know how the others feel, but thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hudson.
Yes, I want to thank you for being here also. And it's kind of funny when I saw this because about 2 weeks ago, I bought a bedroom set for a gentleman that works out there and has worked out there for about 30 years. And he told me they all got raises out there. So when I read this, I was shocked to see why would they be giving them raises if they're talking about closing it down. But that's government. So, you never know what they're thinking about. I know several people that work out there and that have worked out there for the last 30 years. And people that have worked there after they graduated high school and have moved on to other careers. And they still have ties there and still go back there. So I think that would be a disservice, not only to the people that live out there, but also to the city of Coolidge. So I will try to do everything I can to keep it open.
Thank you, Councilmember Hudson.
Well, I come from the other perspective. Sorry to be the bad guy on the block, but what is Ducey trying to do with this? From what I understand, we're out of money and we're trying to cut back. He's trying to make cutbacks and to get within the budget. Anytime you do that, you make enemies right away. But the money runs out somewhere along the line. It just always does. And from what I understand, would they be going to a private enterprise home? Okay, so that brings into question the next thing is, who takes better care of them, private enterprise or government? I don't think the government does anything better than the private enterprise. I know you have failures on both sides. We could all find failures and evils on both sides, but at the end of the day, government incentivizes nothing. Private enterprise incentivizes everything. If you want my business to take care of my handicapped child or mom, you're going to have to do a better job than the next guy, and I'll have more incentive to take my handicapped child to that guy because they'll do a better job. And with competition, you always end up taking care of people a lot better. Where do you want to go for health care? Cuba or private or VA hospital or private enterprise? And I think anytime we can support private enterprise, it's a good thing. Everyone wins in the long run. However, you have people that are being employed by government services right now. And the first thing we think of is, what about their jobs? And I agree. It's difficult. But what about the taxes that are going to get raised to give raises? If you have 13,000 people, you have 300 that are going to get paid, and you have 12,700 that are going to get more taxes. So anytime we can support private enterprise, that's the route that we ought to go, not the socialistic paradigm. That hurts everybody in the long run. I think anytime you can support private enterprise, it's better for the prices, for the people taking care of them, and for the patients. I just wanted to put in my 2 cents worth. I know Ducey's he's making the tough calls, and I certainly applaud anyone who's willing. I know it's political suicide, right? Because you don't get people's votes, but is it the right thing to do, and will it take care of more people in the long run?
Can I address that?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, it's fine with me.
No, I just wanted something I didn't point out. We had a white paper study done, and to move the clients into the community costs the government twice what it's costing them to be at ATPC. So it is not a budget concern on this portion, because it is twice the cost to put them out into the community.
So Ducey's not doing this to cut back on
I
his
think
budget?
it's coming from DDD, and I don't even realize if Governor Ducey realizes what's going on at this point. I don't know if it's reached him. Tim Jeffries, who is under him, and Dr. Love, I don't even think that Governor Ducey realizes it yet.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Lewis?
Yeah. Originally, I wasn't going to say anything, but I kind of feel compelled to do so. Normally, I can agree with private enterprise being the way to go. But in this situation, I side with the ladies that are here in the audience and the majority of the rest of us up here. And having working the medical field in one capacity or the other, I can tell you that the private sector of group homes is nowhere near what we currently have with Arizona Training Center. And just because it's a private enterprise, they're still receiving government funds from Medicare, Medicaid from the state. It's just they have less regulations, and they're not directly governed by the state necessarily. And a majority, if not a vast majority of them, have had a lot of criminal complaints and issues come about because of the neglect that they're giving to patients. Now, while the training center doesn't sit inside our city and it's not something we could take direct action, I think we are compelled to, with the amount of citizens that we have out there and the residents who are affected by decisions that we make, we need to support this group in trying to keep this place open. You have the patients in there, like they said, some of them 52 years. Moving them to a group home, I can pretty much assure you their lifespan is going to be a lot longer if they stay where they're at. You try to transition them into a strange place, they just take 10 steps backward. It's not a one step, two step, it's a huge regress. And I don't think supporting that change is beneficial to anybody. And I don't think the private sector will gain anything or lose anything. They do well on their own, but they're also receiving government money. So closing it or supporting the closure of it isn't going to save the state any money, because if I'm not mistaken, the private sectors are able to charge the state more than what the training center does. Like the lady said, it's twice as expensive. And I've been in some of these homes. These people buy $600,000+ homes and turn them into group homes and charge these families an ungodly amount of money to have their luxury home, which them and their families reside in as well. So there's some hanky things that go on with the private sector in regards to group homes, and you know, being on both sides of the fence it's not a benefit to change, and I think it would do a lot more negative to our community, to the residents of the training center, and I, for one, wouldn't want that on my shoulders. So with that said, you know, I do support assisting in any way we can to keep your cause going.
I agree. If you've never been out there and seen the employees working with the individuals that live out there, it is so rewarding to see the individuals. They get so close to these workers, and they just get so excited and you know, and happy, and it is just really something to see. So I encourage, if you haven't been out there to see them, go out there. You know, like right now at Christmas time, it's really cool. So I oppose the closure.
Yeah. May I add one more thing, Mayor? I forgot to add this. And the residents of the training center, they don't accept new residents. It's these residents who have been here their almost, if not their entire lives. Mm-hmm. So at some point, the training center will probably, for the purposes it's being used now, will go away at some point, because people don't live forever, unfortunately. So 20, 30 years from now, maybe we'll feel different. But for now, you know, the folks aren't going anywhere. You mean, so it's hard to be against them, and it's their home. It'd be like if somebody came and took my home away from my family. You can't, you know, it's their home, so we need to support their home. I'm sorry, Mayor, that's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I was glad to get this out of the way. Thank you, ladies, for coming. I mean, it goes without saying, I obviously, I think, first and foremost, it's the right thing to do. Why, they've lived there forever. You know, you can make the debate, like I said before, on another conversation, you know, if the state was to come in and said, we're going to move them because we have plans for that 80 acres. Right now, we're only using 2 acres. We have plans for 80 acres. We're going to bring in 1,000 jobs into your community, and we're going to take care of these people. I would still think it was the wrong thing to do, but I can understand it being done. And I don't know what they have in plans for the future out there, and that's another reason I think it's a bad idea. And I didn't run for office and get elected to cost people in Coolidge and else surrounding areas employment and jobs. My job is to try to bring, our job is to try to bring jobs into this area, not try to get people laid off. So if a small thing, if it helps us and if it helps people in a small way in Coolidge and surrounding areas to keep this place open, I'm all for it. So in saying that, this is a resolution, Norma. We need a
motion.
Motion to approve is read, sir.
Second?
Okay, there's a motion and a second now, Norma.
Vice Mayor Henry,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston,
No.
and Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go back to where we were. And I think, and I apologize, about half of us are fighting colds, so you're going to see Kleenexes and coughs and things of that nature. All right.
Do you want my jacket?
Nothing else on the call to the public. I'll get out of the call to the public, and I will go to approval of minutes, discussion and action for, excuse me, item number 6, City Council Study Session, November 9th, 2015. City Council Regular Meeting, November 9th, 2015. City Council Study Session, November 23rd, 2015. And City Council Regular Meeting, 2015. Is there any changes or corrections that anybody sees?
With no discussion, Mayor, I'll move to approve the city council meeting minutes as read.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Items for consent under that agenda, we've already dealt with item number 13. Is there anything else that anybody wants to pull off of any of those items?
I'd like to pull number 10, sir.
All right.
14. I was going to say 14.
Okay. All right.
And Mayor?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to let everybody know that the agenda item number 12, which is the City of Coolidge purchasing 2 Tahoes from Garrett Motors, that I actually do the bid for Garrett Motors, that I do not own any portion of Garrett Motors whatsoever. I'm just an employee there. And as you see that I actually bid less than the state bid. So I just want everybody to be aware of that.
Are you you still want to, you want me to pull it off and you?
No,
declare
I can
okay,
vote
you're
on it.
good.
I have no vested interest in the Garrett Motors whatsoever.
All righty, in that case,
And no financial interest in that vote.
No, sir.
all right. So in that case, items for consent are 11, consider approval of renewing the planned maintenance agreement and addendum with Cummings Rocky Mountain LLC for service on the Police Department emergency backup generator in the amount of $2,102.50 for FY 15-16 budget year. Number 12, consider approval to unfreeze the capital sales tax fund to purchase two 2016 Chevrolet Tahoes fully equipped from Garrett Motors in the amount of $126,667, utilizing capital sales tax fund for the Coolidge Police Department and waiving the sealed bid requirements in the best interest of the city. And I would quickly point out that there's police packages, and the police packages cost more than the vehicles themselves. So item number 15, resolution number 15-39, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, adopting the Coolidge 2025 general plan major amendment schedule for 2016. Item number 16, consider approval of entering into an emergency base station amendment with Banner Health Agreement number 0440-02-48871. Banner Health, doing business as Banner Health Grande Medical Center and the City of Coolidge for base hospital services, authorizing the mayor to execute the necessary documents. And item 17, consider approval of entering into a professional services agreement between Standage and Associates LTD and the City of Coolidge for design and construction services for improvements to Northern Avenue in the amount of $16,000, authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement. Okay.
Mayor,
Go ahead.
I move to approve items 11, 12, 13, 15, 16.
15 and 16.
13, I'm sorry. 15, 16, 17 is read.
Second.
Okay, there's,
Did I get them all?
yeah.
All right.
We will
Second.
require,
Motion is second, and this, there's a is there a resolution involved in this one? Yes,
That
there
is
is,
correct.
okay. No.
Okay. Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis? Sorry
Yes,
about
I'm
that.
sorry, I thought I
Sorry
had a
about
couple.
that. Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and we'll go to item number 10. Consider approval of the liquor license application number 06110028 for Tequila Jack's Cantina, submitted by Nicolas, help me out,
Salikas?
Terligas, for the owner of NT Enterprises LLC for the business location of 221 South Main Street, Coolidge, Arizona, 85128. Councilmember Lewis?
Yes. I'm sure I probably made Nick sweat back there by pulling it. Like I do with many things, I pull it so you can come up and talk because we have a lot of people who watch this on TV versus showing up. So I would like people to get to actually know what's going on with Tequila Jacks. And you can explain a little bit what's been going on with the improvements. And I'm sure you didn't want to come up and talk today, but. Yeah. And I would like to say, too, for Mr. Salikas Speaks, he also owns a restaurant north of us in Johnson Ranch. And he is a resident of Coolidge. And I know that his other business isn't in Coolidge, but it's a great establishment. They do rather well, and the food's phenomenal. So we're glad that he's bringing his business ventures to our city as well.
Thank you very much,
Welcome.
Council. So yeah, we're definitely want to come into Coolidge here, and Lynn's given me the opportunity to do something with the old Main Street Tavern. Got a couple partners that thinking of turning it into like a cantina where we get live bands, kind of be the sports bar of Coolidge, where we've invested in about 12 TVs in the place. We'll be playing the NFL ticket and as many sports games as we can. We want to turn it into more of a like an entertainment center, where we've been even thinking of doing like stand-up comedies and just whatever, will bring the people and give some entertainment for the town. I know and food. Actually, we're gonna be, because the place doesn't have a kitchen yet. We're gonna bring in food trucks. We're thinking of kind of rotating them out every couple days. That way, we get a different variety of different foods on different days. But yeah, I'm trying to make the move from Santan Valley. I live here. I'm a resident of Coolidge, and I want to make this like my permanent home with, business and my living quarters.
Any questions?
Questions?
Just a comment. Thank you, because that's what it takes to revitalize the downtown. A good restaurant, it draws people, and as council, we can work on density to get some good quality housing around it so that there's walk traffic. And I know I talked to staff about providing weekend bus service if we can to help with people, move people around, because we only do it during the week. Things like that, we could partner together, it'd be great. And thank you so much.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I mean, I've talked to a few of the other bar owners in the area, and I'm not coming in here to cause competition with any of the other bar owners. Like I talked to Scott from the Goose, and he does
It's a rodeo guy.
yeah, he does his rodeo, but he does karaoke on Wednesdays. So I told him, hey, Wednesday's your karaoke night. I'm not doing karaoke on Wednesday. It's not that we're a huge populated city, so we, whatever we could do, not to step on each other's feet, but work with each other. Same thing with Shorty's around the corner. They're doing karaoke through Thursday through Saturday, so we'll probably take a Monday, Tuesday karaoke night. But I just think that if we all kind of work together, we can definitely we can get this. Because every time it's been a dream of mine to do something in that old downtown. Because every time I drive by it, I'm like, it's got so much potential. You just don't see that type of building. It's all commercial strip malls. You gotta, you can't park your car and walk around the block. And I think the old downtown it's definitely, I think it's gonna happen. So, yeah, I'm gonna try my best to be a part of it.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yeah, I just want to thank you very much for your commitment to Coolidge and commitment to the downtown. I think Coolidge needs a good, clean sports bar here in town. I know there's a lot of people that go out of town for the football season and also the basketball season. I mean, you got the NCAA tournament that comes up. Hopefully we'll have a game at Cardinal Stadium. And but just so that it's a nice, clean, friendly sports bar. And I think it'd be an asset to Coolidge. So thank you very much for your commitment.
And like I said, I appreciate you coming in. If you ever been to his establishment up north, he runs, a pretty tight ship, nice, clean establishment. So I think you're on the ground floor of one of the few businesses coming into the downtown. You're helping us go in the direction that I know a lot of us want to go. So again, I appreciate it, and I can't wait till you're open. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming in and doing something in the downtown area, and look forward to that. Hopefully, maybe you can get a commercial kitchen sometime and then do your cooking
Yeah,
there.
hopefully, if we'll see what the first year brings us, and that's where my background's really in, cooking.
That's a good thing, because I like to eat.
Yeah.
So does Gary.
Yeah.
All right, thank
We
you,
ought to go
Mike.
down there one
Yeah.
day.
Date night right there.
All right. Nicholas, thank you very much. We
Thank you,
appreciate everything you've done, and obviously if the city can do anything to help you, we will certainly.
Thank you.
We do it, so, thank you. I think this is just the beginning. I think you made a good move, and I think things are gonna happen down there, so
Appreciate
thanks
it.
a lot.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your support.
You betcha.
If
Okay.
there's nothing else, I'd like to motion to approve as read.
Second.
Motion to approve, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Congratulations, sir.
Good, thanks, Nick.
Item number 14, consider approval of entering into a nonprofit agreement between the City of Coolidge and the Coolidge Performing Arts Center Foundation, Inc., to promote and support the performing and cultural arts offered at the center and the Artesian Village. All right, Councilmember, you asked.
Ask my question too.
Well, who's on the?
You could ask it to me.
Finances.
Yeah.
Bob, do we transfer finances here? Is that part of the deal?
Well, we had an outstanding intergovernmental agreement from 2002 with the foundation and the school district on the Performing Arts Center itself, and we've committed funds to the maintenance and operation of the center. What this does is open up the foundation's arm, which is called the Artisan Village, to a $10,000 finance package and or in-kind package. What that is that in order to help everything with the Artisan Village has really come about since January 1, and I'm glad Jack Malpass is here, fighting pneumonia at the moment, and in between his trips to the hospital with his heart condition, every waking moment he's working on the foundation and the Artisan Village. So congratulations, Jack. What we needed from the start was that some things that we couldn't afford to have done. For example, there was I have this from Public Works. We had to clear an irrigation line using the vac truck. Well, we were charged for that some $300 and some, along with the upgrading and unloading a truck where we had to use a forklift, which the city had. So there's some things the city could help with the Artisan Village and help the day-to-day progress that was being made. So we said, well, we should put something in the budget, and obviously all of this will be in your budget next year. It'll all be feathered out properly. But since everything has happened since January, everything is just overnight. We're asking for the $10,000 either in kind or cash to help jumpstart the Artisan Village. And so we would subtract like $300 and some, for example, and some other things from that $10,000. So it wouldn't be exactly $10,000 cash. It would be whatever remains outside the in-kind contribution. Along with that, what we have are some things, that, well, for example, the city, and Ricky's here and can tell you that he's in need, especially in the spring and early summer season when Little League gets started and T-ball and all this. He's used the fields there at Artisan Village for soccer already, but he will need it for the teams that need practice fields. He doesn't have enough fields in his disposal so that these teams can practice properly. And so he's going to be able to use, that's 4 acres of land over there. So he'll be able to use the fields for the practice teams as needed. That again, would require some maintaining of weeds and grass cutting and so on. So there's a trade-off of the city helping out and affording him an ability to use the fields as well. So it's been a kind of a trade-off of what we need, what he needs, what the Artisan Village needs, and whatever it amounts to, up to $10,000.
Where does the $10,000 come from?
Well, it's coming from, I think it's discretionary funding. So, but it's not necessarily cash. It could be all in kind. In other words, you start adding up the services that are being provided by the city, subtract that from 10,000, so it might only be a few dollars, But there's a limit. It's just the limit. 10,000 is just the cap. And but
so in a sense, it's whether it's in kind or cash, either way, because we have to pay the workers to do the in kind. Then it's like a vote for the Artisan Village to channel funds towards the Artisan Village, or the performing arts, or either one.
Yeah, it's an economic development opportunity. We had 4 acres of land sitting there on the boulevard, unused for 7 or 8 years, and what an opportunity! I mean, this foundation and the Artisan Village has just electrified citizens. If you were there on Saturday and the mayor was cutting a ribbon on Saturday morning, we had a lot of activity, a lot of interested citizens that have come out for that. And almost every room in those buildings is now taken by some studio, ceramics or metal or there's the Gem and Mineral Museum. You've got fabric arts, you got visual arts, you got all of these artisans are coming in. 4 people have moved in from out of state and bought houses in Coolidge. So it's an economic development opportunity to take a piece of property that's been unused for 7 or 8 years and make it into something that's we can be proud of.
Do we?
Bob, before we go any farther, Mr. Fitzgibbons, you had a chance to review this agreement? Is it legal? I mean, I'm under the
Yes, Mr.
impression
Mayor.
that
Yeah,
we're making it, what we're involved in now, there's some citizens that are questioning whether what we're doing is legal or not legal.
Very good point.
And this is, to me, this is a document that will make it legal if it isn't legal.
Right. I mean, Mr. Mayor, members of council, it was and I think it's kind of an evolving matter. I mean, that has come out in the last couple of years, but the most recent case involved the City of Phoenix unions and the time they used and what was fair and what was a proper gift. And from that case, there was a lot of good discussion about that, if the cities are going to enter into these types, agreements where they're potentially are looking to economic development or things like that, that it's not enough just to say magic words anymore. You got to kind of define what you're looking for. And I think that's what this agreement does. It has very specific titles about support economic development resource, but then underneath it says specifically what the expectations of council would be from that. So we're not just, and I think under the Phoenix case that came out this year, that's what it looks like the courts are looking for, is for those items to be now defined. And you can't just say, attract tourism. You have to, and that's what this agreement does. It specifically says what it will do to accomplish that goal. So I think the courts are looking for more specific items and metrics to show that these are not gifts of public funds. The city is specifically getting something in return for its payments, if you will.
And Mr. Fitzgibbons, will we not be going down the same road since we do give money to the Chamber of Commerce?
But we have an agreement with the Chamber of Commerce
but
that specifically says what our expectations are. Now, those agreements, obviously, when they come back around next fiscal year, we'll probably want to sit down with the Chamber before that comes up and says specifically exactly what our expectations are so that we define it better, because that's clearly what the court is requesting more recently, is that we be more definitive in what the city's getting for the payment the city's making.
And that's why if you read Section 1 of the agreement, that's exactly what his office asked for. Ann Scoten drew it up, and I'm sure passed it through Dennis, but it spells out in Section 1 exactly what the city's benefit.
Okay, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Rob. You got another question? Go ahead real quick.
We have funds in the budget for the Performing Arts Center, do we not? We budgeted like 15,000?
Yeah, and that's the document that goes back to 2002 that we've always budgeted for. But
do we have a line item for the Artisan Village?
Not yet, no. All of this, like I say, the whole it's unbelievable that all of the things that Jack has come up with made it. Yeah, all of this has happened during the budget year. It wasn't budgeted, but that's why I say come the next budget year when we do our priority-based budgeting, all this stuff will enter into the budget. But all this stuff took place from January to December, and a lot of this isn't in the budget yet. But there is money there that can be used through discretionary funding. But it's not line item, no. It's not line item, because all this stuff happens so quickly now in the last few months.
Okay, and does it renew without voting on it, or is this?
No, it's a 1 year.
Is this just for this year?
Yeah. Well, the intergovernmental agreement with the Performing Arts Center with the school district is an annual renewable agreement. But this document here, the nonprofit agreement with the foundation and the Artisan Village is
Good.
an annual.
I went down here
Right.
last time.
And
Go ahead.
again, the specific provision in the agreement is Section 2, and it specifically says the term of this agreement shall be for a period of 1 year commencing July 2015. At the end of the year, the agreement shall automatically be renewed for 1 year upon the same terms and conditions that set forth unless terminated as provided herein. And then it specifically says, in consideration for the programs and services to be provided by the foundation, the city shall provide $25,000 to the foundation, of which 15 shall be used to support the performing arts programming at the center, and 10,000 shall be used to support the programs at the Artesian Village. I think those were the questions you're asking. So
It is, and so basically we're voting on channeling 10,000 towards the Artisan Village.
Not necessarily. No, if you keep reading there, it says, or in kind, if the money's
Yeah,
there.
In kind or
Yeah,
cash,
yeah.
either way.
And,
Change it to 10,000.
and if you've been part of the Artisan Village, which a lot of us have, it's an exciting economic development for the city. It's won over all kinds of citizen support, and I can't praise Jack enough for all the work he's done.
I don't disagree with that. I think, Jack, you're doing a great job.
So, I mean, to cut it off right now and say, there's no more in-kind contribution from the city would be a real hardship.
Steve.
No, I've lived in Coolidge for 35 years, and I have never seen anything that is like the Artisan Village. And what the Coolidge is going to reap the benefits from in years to come, to me, is going to overcome the money that we support or the work that we perform over there. And the citizens that are worried about it, they ought to go through there, and they ought to spend a little time at the Artisan Village. They ought to see what Jack Malpas and Rick Miller and the rest of the people do. When you can take the Coolidge school systems in the city of Coolidge and an independent group like that and come up with something that is going to be an asset to Coolidge, to me, it's worth $100,000. Because what we're going to see for our kids and the impact that we're going to have on economic growth and the money that the Coolidge is going to receive is going to overcome anything like that. So that's all I have to say on that.
Okay, thanks. Let me go down to Gary.
You can go Gilbert first.
Go ahead, Gilbert.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. No, I just wanted to kind of echo that. The honor wall over at Rodriguez's house is going over there, and it's going to be a place that's public for for people to come and see. And it's not a memorial; it's an honor wall, so you could be alive and still be on there. But I know, like my dad served in Korea is on there, and so a lot of people have their family honored there, and it's really exciting to see it going down there. So we get a lot of comments on that. But also the chamber's there, and they have an incubator that's there that they're going to try to incubate and help new businesses start up. So as everybody says, the artisan part of it is really cool. My grandson was over there picking up these big rocks. They're really light. I think they're volcanic, but he had it over his head. He got pictures of that. So, I mean, the children are getting very excited about science, and that's where we really are lacking math and science skills. So it's amazing, as Councilmember Hudson said, see how many people are out there and really getting into it and really involved. So, Jack, thank you for your leadership and all the others that are involved out there. I think it's a great asset. So I certainly think, as far as the budget goes, we always come up with things that come up during the year that we have an opportunity to fund. So as long as we don't, it's a budget. So as long as we don't exceed our cap, which we always kind of add to it, so that then you're fine in adding things to the budget in the middle of the year. We do it all the time, and all the cities in Arizona do that. As long as it's done publicly like we're doing here, and we're talking about it, citizens know what's happening. So it's an investment, and I agree that with how it's written, actually meets the test, because we always go through this too with federal money and general fund in Glendale on what are we getting for it, and this really spells out the relationship and the give and take, and so I think that's what you have to have. So I think it's done correctly. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Lewis.
A few things, but first I just want to ask just for clarifications, because we recently, a few meetings ago, voted to funnel some funds from a different source into the village. What's the difference between that and with this, just for some clarification?
It's still economic development, and instead of being with Access Arizona, which we've been since 1992, and really never received any benefit, that this was a way. We had 17,000 in the budget, so thanks to Councilman Hudson, he said, "Why don't you divide it up and give half to the CEDC, which is the Coolidge Economic Development Committee, and then the other half to Artisan Village to continue to promote." Because what we're doing at Artisan Village is to promote economic development, and but that was a separate agreement. You know,
And that's what I just asked for clarification, because I know the whole initial part of it, and not to throw stones, but there's more than one council member up here that had that idea and pushed for that, just so we're very clear on that. But, and we funneled the money for that, but so what's the difference? Because citizens are going to ask, well, didn't we just approve to give money? So what's the difference? And I'm not contesting it, because you'll find out once you make the clarification that I actually in support of this. I just want to know the difference, because we have some pretty strict regulations with the contract that we approved initially for the funds. So what's different for this group of money?
There's not a lot of difference. It's still economic development. It's still trying to promote new businesses. As I forget who mentioned the incubator program, that we have somebody making soaps now, and as soon as they can build their business, they're operating out of the Artisan Village. They will be spun off into the city, and there's a certain time frame when they have to be out and open up their own business in the city. But what we want to do is build up incubator programs and other things for economic development ideas. So it kind of blends together, really. It's all for economic development.
So if it's not different, why are we not just adding on to the original thing? 'Cause it looks like it's separate.
Yeah. Well, that's why I mean, you know, all this stuff happened between January and
Yes, I
December,
understand.
and until we get into the budget, that's where we have to line these things up, put them in the budget properly. I mean, these things just came at us, you know. I mean, we didn't know we'd be backing out of Access Arizona. We did, and that was a good move. But, you know, were they lined up in the budget? Not yet, no. But that'll happen as soon as we get into it, pretty soon.
And a couple of things I had, just so it doesn't, because I'm not in any way, shape, or form against the village. I think it's a great thing. And something, and a lot of people don't understand, when we chose as a city to take our economic development into our control, because like you said, we haven't been receiving much for what we've been putting into it to another organization. This is what happened to it. So it's kind of hard to see it until you need to go out there and understand exactly what the village is doing and why. And yeah, like you said, these are all new things, so they're going to come up first time until we get into our next budget and we make normal items for them. But and I think that's something people just understanding. That's why we do have citizens who are questioning why we're doing this. But if you've been following along, it's all part of us taking control of where our city goes in our own hands. And it is, like you said, it is bringing in people. The chamber's doing a great job with the incubator stuff going on. And there is a lot of things. You know, Mr. Malpass, like everybody said, is doing a great job. And it's not just Mr. Malpass, I think, is the heartbeat for the place, but he has a lot of arteries and veins that are going in that place. And we have Mr. Miller and yourself, you know, that do a lot of work out there, and other city staff. So I appreciate that. I just wanted clarification on what the difference was, because I know we're going to get asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to give them the answers.
Well, one of the things to add, I think where you're headed, and this is something I probably should have mentioned, you know, we have a couple of very big developers lining up with us. Jacob Anderson with Pinnell Holdings, which is now called Saint Holdings. But we're helping him network, because he's pulling in, he's already has contact at the state level with some very, very large projects that he's been a finalist in, and you know, we want to be able to help out promoting some of these people who are out for Coolidge and trying to bring business to Coolidge, big time business. So part of that economic development, I know Rick is very much involved in that, talking to Jacob and trying to promote pushing forward and getting our land, our industrial development land built.
Yeah, well, and I think 10 grand is a nickel in the barrel for what we're going to get in return. Like Mr. Hudson said, you can't really compare. I mean, we got a winning lottery ticket. I mean, so we got to hold on to and do what we can. So I think it's a good idea. I just wanted clarification
Yeah.
because there's people that aren't going to understand, and I want to be able to have answers.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your response.
Thank you.
Steve, I've got you beat. I got 60 years here.
Wait a minute.
I'm a lot younger than I guess.
Anyway, I'm thrilled that we have the Artisan Village. If the citizens of Coolidge have not been down there to go and see the Gin and Mineral Museum and the other things down there, they really need to get down there and see this stuff and see what Jack and the whole group that, I mean, there's a whole group that works on it. He's the one that, you know, is the one that gets you going. And, but he's been down there by himself painting and all kinds of stuff, you know. So my hat's off to you, Jack, for helping out and getting that going. And it's just so many things that, you know, years ago, maybe we had some of this stuff, but we don't anymore. Now we're getting some of it back, and the kids can get interested in, just like Christy Frieder and the play and her daughter and the different classes for cupcakes and cookies and all kinds of different things that you have to travel elsewhere to go and take your kids to do, and now we have it here.
It's a great time to visit Christmas in the Village, right? This week?
Yeah.
It's been going
Yeah,
on.
from the 12th to the 19th.
Like
yeah.
7 days of it? No, just
Yeah.
one day? Never mind.
See,
Jump the gun.
if you would have followed the procedure and asked for a call to order, you wouldn't have said that. Rob, go ahead.
Dear Jack and Artisan Village, I think you're doing a wonderful job, and I love you guys. I'm all for that. I'm only asking financial questions. Did I hear you say that it's okay to go over the budget?
No, I said it's okay to change things within the budget as long as you don't go over the set budget.
Okay.
See, yeah, there's a maximum budget.
Right, and we're not going over the budget.
They always add a little extra because of grants and all that you have to have in case something comes in, so you plan to get everything, but you never do. So.
If you got the budget.
That's a question for Lisa, and we're not going to even get into that. Okay?
But no, we're not.
Here we go. All right. My comments regarding this issue is we all are out and about all through the communities at different meetings for the city. I've been doing it for a long time, and up until we got the Artisan Village going in, there really wasn't much to talk about. Nobody came up and said, hey, you guys are doing a great job over there. That thing's really got potential, and I'm seeing that now. You couple that with some of the other things that are happening here. You know, you've got that facility over there, and Tequila Jack's Cantina may make a go of it. People come in here, they need places to eat, they need places to drink. Tags has got a good business, and hopefully it'll get better. You know, the businesses, this is a good thing for the businesses. You know, and I look at it from a different perspective, too. Since 2002, 2004, we spent about $300,000 in economic development to an agency that didn't bring one business in. Didn't do one thing for us. So if we spend $10,000, $25,000 a year on ourselves to try to bring businesses in, I think that's the way we need to go. On the other hand, and I know what you're thinking because I know you're on their board, so don't look at me that way. But as long as we're legal, and which you tell me we are, then I guess I would look for a motion to do something.
No further discussion, Mayor. I'd like to approve consent agenda item, well, the item that was pulled, item agenda 14 as read.
Second.
Okay. Norma, I'll let you decide who won that race. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. All right.
And
Now we're-
thank you for airing it. I think it's time that we needed to get it all out into the public because there's been a lot of work been done, and I think it's a real gem. But it's good that we talked about it.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, now we're finally under business, regular items. Item 18, resolution number 15-40, a resolution of the City of Coolidge, Arizona, declaring a public record that certain document filed with the city clerk and entitled Chapter 22 Procurement Code of the Code of the City of Coolidge, Arizona, relating to purchases of any goods or services for or on behalf of the city, rescinding Resolution 12-01 and declaring an emergency. And good evening, Jill.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you this evening is the first of two items. This is a resolution adapting an addition to our City of Coolidge Code, adding Chapter 22 Procurement Code. This was initiated or requested by the Arizona Department of Transportation during a triennial review that the transit program went through in August of this year. During that review, ADOT looks at all of our operating procedures and our compliance with federal statute. Our purchasing resolution that's been in effect did not clearly identify that when procuring resources and using federal dollars, there are requirements in that bidding process that must be followed, such as sealed bid, procurement thresholds. Anything procured above $3,000 must be documented, whether it's through the section of obtaining quotes or obtaining sealed bids over $100,000. Our procurement guidelines followed the City of Coolidge rules, did not necessarily comply with federal rules. Also, with federal grant funds, you cannot use a local preference. You cannot give preference to a local business. It must be based on price and ability to deliver the service. Additionally, there are a myriad of federal clauses that must be included in the bid packet, and our procurement resolution at the time did not address that. So the city attorney's office did prepare a Chapter 22 to the city code to add procurement. It does go through the requirements that ADOT is requesting that we clearly outline for the Federal Transit Administration so that we can become in compliance. The majority of our bids that have been performed in the last several years have been in compliance with those federal requirements. However, the question kept being asked, if certain staff were not available that is knowledgeable about that, would City of Coolidge still be in compliance? We did have a contract or a lease for a copier that is not in compliance. ADOT is allowing that to stay in place until next budget year when funds can be allocated, and we are solving the other two compliance issues. One where we could not document bids on uniforms nor document bids on fuel. So within the next 6 months, staff will be procuring and providing the documentation for those various items in compliance with federal guidelines. So all the procurement guidelines for the City of Coolidge are in this new chapter. I'd be happy to answer any questions and request Mr. Fitzgibbon's assistance since his staff prepared it as well.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Okay, is it necessary to include, because you have your ADOT, your federal guidelines that you have to go, so or go by, so wouldn't you have gone with whichever one was more stringent, which on those types of things that you were just talking about?
Vice Mayor, yes, you would go with what's more stringent. However, the past procurement guidelines did not even reference that you would go with the more stringent. It was silent on any requirements for federal procurement. So this clearly identifies what those procurement issues are, and these are exactly the items that ADOT has asked us to add. So if you were a new employee that maybe wasn't aware about federal procurement, if you looked at our old resolution, you wouldn't even realize you would go with the more stringent.
But if you're doing grants, if an individual's doing grants, wouldn't that person know if you're doing the
If it's someone,
ADOT grants?
if it's someone that has some experience, but as we found with the transit facility when it was constructed, the transit facility did not comply with the more stringent requirements, and the staff at that time stated they didn't have grant experience, so they didn't know to comply. So if you have new staff coming in, that's where the very difficult part can be, or staff that is just looking at, I comply with the city, or council. You've complied with the city requirements. Why are you doing something that's a federal requirement? This makes it very clear.
Jill, I did see one thing, and maybe Dennis, you know, I always like to, we try to obviously budget the money as well as we can. I'm looking at contracts shall be awarded by the city council to the lowest bidder, except as otherwise provided under federal law, state law, or this chapter. I know we've had some conversations. One thing that concerns me is there a way, well, I'm not going to say out of this, but around this, if if somebody's the lowest bidder and they do shoddy work, let's say they do our roads and they come in and they do a terrible job, but they continue to be the lowest bidder, I noticed in a lot of this other information on a lot of the other things we have coming up, that there were some things that said if you can not use them if their performance isn't up to par.
That is correct.
Is that the same thing here?
In the federal regulations, there are guidance that you can follow if someone is not a acceptable performer, and there is a history and you can trace what that trail is. Unfortunately, sometimes you have a low bid contract, you go with the low bid, and then you learn from that experience that maybe they did not comply with the days. They said they'd get the project done in 60 days, and it took them 120. The acceptance of the material, you had to go through multiple inspections to get it accepted. So a lot of times you may have that first experience that may not be the best, but after that, if there is a quality issue or performance issue, you can use that on your award decision, and that's in state statute as far as I'm aware as well.
Right, and I think 2211 specifically says council has the right by majority vote to waive any of the rules or regulations stated inside the procurement code.
Okay.
Unless
wanna make sure
prohibited
we-
by federal or
Unless,
state law.
that's not allowed by federal requirements. So any federal grant, council can't just waive it. You've got to have that documentation that there's a performance issue. And if there is a performance issue, you don't have to contract with them, even though that are the low bid.
Didn't the city of Coolidge already practice that sort of thing?
It may have been
Wasn't it
practiced.
already in our procurement, I mean, that we did that, if we knew that just because they're low bid, we didn't have to go with them?
I'm not sure if it was in the original resolution. I do know it's in state statute. So usually we would use lowest qualified bidder. So if somebody did have a problem with their delivery, or there were issues identified on a contractor for his general contractor's license that could preclude them from being a qualified bidder. That is the way state statute reads. However, this was making it very clear, council, if it's federal money, cannot waive any of the federal bid requirements.
Yeah, and I saw for the local, that kind of takes that advantage away in a lot of ways.
On the federal funding, it's
Federal
never
funding,
been
it does,
an
yeah.
advantage we could use. That is not allowed with federal funds,
But
so.
Now, that wouldn't have impacted, like we voted earlier, but the local dealership we went with beat everybody's bid, so that wouldn't have mattered anyway.
If it was federal money,
was
we would
federal,
have to
yeah.
have the documentation of what those other bids were,
Okay.
and then they would end up being the lowest qualified bidder.
We're
So-
just talking about things that involve federal money.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this is state,
Correct.
this is city money that we're
That
spending
is
on
correct.
towers, so.
But the airport involves federal money, though.
Not all the time. The
Not
fuel
all the
tanks
time,
were
but
city money.
there's a lot of the time. it
Correct.
does.
Correct.
It's commingled.
If it's commingled, the federal funds win, and you must
You
follow the
play by their
federal
rules.
guidelines
Yeah,
if
okay.
you're going to use their money. That's why a lot of times you don't want to mingle city money in with federal at the same time, if you can avoid it.
I just want to make sure where we were at with it. Okay, thank you. Anybody got any questions? Gil?
Just want to say, I think this is more of a clarification to fall in line with some of the audit stuff. We already practice this pretty much for purposes, and a lot of times you have, and I think it's great to put it in the actual cities, actually regulations and everything, because a lot of cities, it's the city's procurement's over here and the federal one's over here under these departments, and sometimes there's mistakes, and so this will stop that from happening. And so usually it's additional stuff like when you have to go up procurement, it's the level on the federal is very high. Our city one's low, so we get to see everything. The feds, the level's up here, and it falls to the city. So most stuff falls to the city anyway. It's just when you get into the big money for the airport, the big street projects, you have to follow Davis-Bacon, Section 3. And a lot of times anyway, Davis-Bacon doesn't end up costing you that much if everything's competitive and working right. It doesn't raise it too much, but sometimes you have to follow that stuff.
Not down here, but on the reservation in Chinle it does, I can tell you that.
Yeah, really? Yeah. So, because we found in some of our projects in Glendale that it wasn't much difference in some of them. So, we were good. So anyway, I just want to add that it's kind of adding to and making sure we're fine on future grants so that we get that money.
Okay.
Get our citizens' money back to us.
And that's
from
what
the
we
federal
need to do.
government.
Okay. Anybody else over here? You guys good?
Just to clarify, this is just to clean up our guidelines and policies, right? So these things are still going to come to council to approve. It's just we have to follow. These are just altering what, make sure we stay in line with the rules, right?
Mayor Thompson, Councilmember Lewis, that is correct.
Okay. 'Cause there's a lot being said. I want to make sure I was maintaining the path that I thought we were on. So okay.
I know what you mean. Okay. Mr. Fitzgibbons, I see you smiling. You don't have anything to add, huh? We're good to go?
Not much to add. No, and I mean, it also added a bid protest process, and so I mean, I think it kind of sets the rules of the game going forward.
Okay, thank you. Well, I need a motion somewhere.
Motion to approve is read, sir.
All right.
Second.
A motion is second.
Sorry, Gilbert.
It's all right.
Norma?
Vice Mayor Henry,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston,
Yes.
and Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ordinance number 15-17, an ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, adopting that certain document known as Chapter 22 Procurement Code of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, by reference and providing for severability and declaring an emergency. Joe?
Good evening. This relates to the previous item that you just passed by resolution. By adopting the ordinance, it is a means to reduce publication, so we only need to publish the ordinance as being adopted. Of course, the full chapter of the City of Coolidge Code that we've added, Chapter 22, will be added to the website and available to the public, but this allows us to just have the ordinance published in the newspaper. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer it.
Okay. Oh,
I want to make a motion.
okay. Go ahead. Go.
Mr. Mayor,
All right.
if there are no other questions, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance number 15-17 as presented and declare an emergency.
Second.
There's a motion and a second.
Councilmember Huddleston,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez.
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Henry,
Yes.
and Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Item 20, resolution number 15-41, a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, declaring as a public record that a certain document filed with the city clerk entitled Chapter 21 Solid Waste relating to the regulation of solid waste services and charges with the city of Coolidge, repealing and replacing in its entirety the previously adopted Chapter 21 and all amendments thereto, and declaring an emergency. Susanna?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. As we had in our discussion at the last council meeting, we have, I guess, ended or are getting ready to end or be at the end of our contract with RAD to provide commercial garbage collection within our community. State statute had changed that in 2010 that said we could not limit it to one supplier to do commercial collection in our community because we were already under contract when that happened, or you know, when that legislation changed. We have retained that contract until its end. We actually entered into agreeing with that contract in December of 2008, and they had 60 days to actually kick that off, which ended up to be in February of 2009. 7 years later, we're now getting to the point where we need to open up an opportunity for other commercial haulers within our community. This code change to meet that state statute. We have now developed a code change for our solid waste code that allows us to do that. It also recommends a method and a mechanism by which we can actually accept an application from anybody that may wish to supply that commercial hauling within the community. It will then allow us to also issue a permit so that we know kind of who's doing what in the community. We're able to basically say they're being supplied with the commercial collection that should be provided, as well as making sure that the providers have insurance and have adequate financial capabilities to provide that service to our commercial businesses. So this code change is in essence that mechanism to do that. We are recommending that because there are so many different places that the changes needed to happen, we would repeal the old code and put in a whole code then that basically made all those changes instead of a bunch of little edits through. So that's why we are repealing it. In addition to that, we did have some challenges, I think, since we made this code change back a couple years ago in 2012-13 that have made it somewhat difficult for our finance department to understand kind of how the billings are happening with our residential services that we're providing, in that if a person is not paying their bill, then we collect a can, which is under the certain current code, but it's not clear, although it's kind of clear, that it says that we can continue to charge that residential or that residence for that service, because we are really there to basically provide that, and we're mandated to provide it. So in essence, that also makes that change in this ordinance. So, and as with the other one, we're doing the resolution first and then the ordinance secondly. One other change that is happening is that we had the fees for our charges for our commercial collection, or not our commercial, but our residential collection in as a part of that ordinance. We'd like to do that by exhibit so that it's a little easier in the future should changes happen, that we don't have to repeal and adopt a whole new code again, that we would just do that one fee. So that is also being made in that, a change in this change to the code. So, any questions?
I only have a couple of things. First and foremost, Mr. Fitzgibbons, is it legal? I know that everybody got, this isn't something that we would have ordinarily done, so is it, this new setup is all good to go?
Right.
Defensible?
Yes.
Thank you,
Mr. Mayor, members of council, it's, I think they've worked hard on trying to marry up everything together, and and it puts everybody on notice what the expectations are and what the potential ramifications are of not complying with the code.
Thank you, sir. And Susanna, have we notified our businesses? Are we communicating with them very well?
Yes, we have sent out a letter to all of our commercial businesses that have business license within the community, and let them know that this change is happening. They are still allowed to go ahead and continue their contractual obligations with RAD. There is nothing keeping them from doing that. However, this allows, in case there is some other service that they wish to contract with, this allows them to do it, and then we understand kind of the implications from an insurance, et cetera, process.
Does anybody have any questions over here?
No, sir.
Okay, and if that's the case, then I'm looking for a motion.
Mayor, motion to approve is read.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Norma?
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 20 and 21, ordinance number 15-18. An ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, adopting that certain document known as Chapter 21 Solid Waste of the Code of the City of Coolidge, Arizona by reference, repealing in its entirety and previously adopted Chapter 21, and providing for severability and declaring an emergency. And declaring emergency starts right away.
Yeah, that makes it basically allowed to begin tomorrow. So the reality is I will be able to start accepting applications for these additional haulers as of tomorrow with that emergency in here, allowing us to kind of get that processed when we get a fee actually adopted in January for the application and the permitting of this service.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, hearing no questions, I look for...
Motion to approve, sir.
Okay.
Second.
Motion is second. Norma?
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 22, ordinance number 15-19, an ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, Coolidge, Arizona, amending ordinance number 1515, which extended and increased the corporate limits of the city of Coolidge, Pinal County, state of Arizona, pursuant to provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 7, Arizona Revised Statutes and amendments thereto, by annexing thereto certain territory contiguous to the existing city limits of the city of Coolidge, consisting of 245 acres, more or less, and located within those portions of sections 15, 22, and 27, Township 7 South, range east of the Gila and Salt River Base and Meridian, Pinal County, Arizona, known as the Frontage 87 annexation, to establish the zoning of said territory by repealing the former Section 3 and replacing it with Section 3 set forth herein. Mr. Miller.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that's a lot of wording there, but really the key in that wording is the last couple sentences. Really, this is the highway frontage annexation that the city of Coolidge previously approved and endorsed. As we've been working with our legal counsel and the council representing us on a recent challenge, we felt that there was a need to go in and look at establishing the initial zoning within this annexation area. What we'll do is we'll repeal the section that dealt with the prior zoning that we established for the property. We'll repeal that, which was I-2, heavy industrial. And the provision or the changes being made here in this ordinance amendment would put into effect the existing county zoning on this property for a period not longer than 6 months. And sometime between now and 6 months from now, we will go back in and we will apply the city zoning. But what this ordinance amendment does is it establishes the existing, or allows the continuance of the existing county zoning for a period of up to 6 months. That's what this does. Dennis, did I state that accurately?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Are there any questions?
No.
Well, hearing none, then I would look for a motion.
Mayor, move to approve ordinance number 15-19 as presented.
Second.
Norman, take your choice.
Jackie can have it.
Gentlemen.
Okay, Vice Mayor Henry,
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston,
Yes.
and Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 23, discuss renewing the service agreement with Smart Schools Plus, Inc., doing business as Smart Works Plus, for the purpose of continuing the phased retirement program. This is discussion only. You?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to be putting on my HR hat tonight, so.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay, before you, for discussion, is the current service agreement with SmartWorks Plus. This is the phased retirement program that the city, let me back up a little bit, I'm so sorry, I have to go back here. Back in October of 2014, Council approved a service agreement for the SmartWorks Plus, and that is the phased retirement program which allows eligible employees who are contemplating retirement from the Arizona State Retirement System to retire, who are in good standings, and who have a satisfactory performance evaluation to participate in this program. But before I open it up for discussion, I'm just going to take a few minutes to give a little bit of history and explain what the phased retirement program does. So, and this will also benefit the new council, Councilmember Lewis and Councilmember Huddleston. The phased retirement program was implemented back in 2011. At that time, we had 2 employees who were contemplating retirement, participated in the program, and that agreement went through July of 2014. When that agreement ended, we decided not to renew that contract, but then 2 months later, there was interest expressed again. So staff went back out, negotiated a new amended agreement that came before council on October 14. The changes were, the first agreement for the 3 years was based on a fiscal year period, and also allowed the participant to automatically renew their contract up to a maximum of 3 years. The agreement in October that council approved changed it from a fiscal to calendar, went from January to December, And also, it was only for 1 year, so it was going to end on December 31st, which brings us to where we're at today. The current agreement is expiring on December 31st, and within that agreement, the terms allows us and gives us an option to renew for 2 additional 1-year terms. So at this point, we're bringing it back to council, but we have, in wanting or needing to renew, we were supposed to notify SmartWorks within a 30-day period. Those 30 days have already come and gone, but in reaching out to SmartWorks, they have agreed to waive that requirement, but have also asked that if the city and the council so chooses to renew that agreement, that we go back to the fiscal year. What this does and why they prefer this is because the agreements, the employee or individual contracts for the participants are on a fiscal year basis. So they would like the agreement with the city and SmartWorks to also be in line with that same, the same agreements. So I will open it up for discussion. At this time, staff is asking for council direction on to whether renew, and if so, then we will go back out, reach out to SmartWorks, bring back an amended agreement that has the recommended changes per SmartWorks.
This is discussion only, so I
That is-
guess you would just have to take the tone of the conversation of the individuals. Okay.
Correct.
There are no votes or none of that, all right.
There's no
In
votes.
that case, we'll start down here. Councilmember Lewis.
After reading this stuff, I'm trying to just understand what exactly SmartWorks is. So an employee of ours would technically retire through the state system, and then SmartWorks employs them as a contracted employee who services the city?
That is correct.
So you're in essence, you're retiring, so early, or not early, but get that, but then still keep your job, just in a different system.
Correct. And Mayor Thompson, Councilmember Lewis, I guess I should have further explained, when an employee retires and enrolls in this program, what they do is they remain in their current position, okay? But they only get 80% of their current salary at the time they retire. So that savings averaged about 25% for the city in salary and benefits. So that is correct.
Okay, and I know I'm gonna get heat for what I'm about to say, but, well, I'm gonna say it. So, there's different generations within our city, and we have gaps all over the place. And one of the biggest complaints for the younger generation is they have a hard time getting jobs because people aren't retiring anymore like they used to. So this kind of creates a system why I can retire, but I still have my job, so you're still creating this kind of wave of, I know the word double dip comes to my head, although no, it's technically not double dipping because you're not staying in the same system. But I think it's just a way to kind of backdoor the system, and I'm not a fan of any activities where you're coming through the back door. Say walk to the front door and kick it open if you have to, but never through the back. So I'm not a fan of it, and if we had a vote today, I'd vote no, just so it's clear, because I think, if you're ready to retire, retire. If you're not, then don't. No one's forcing you to. And I want to make that clear, right? No one's forced to. We don't have any rules saying you have to retire.
Mayor
This is a
Thompson.
personal choice that the employee is making.
Mayor Thompson, Councilmember Lewis, that is correct. It is not, no one's forcing anyone. It just, it comes to a point where they're eligible to retire, so they're contemplating it. And again, the phased retirement program, what that was designed for was to phase that individual into retirement. So they could possibly are ready, probably not 100% ready, so this program allows them to eventually, fade out and phase into that retirement.
All right.
So,
Well, I'm not a fan of it, so I'll let everybody attack what I just said, so we can.
yeah.
Yes, I am a fan of it. I think it gives the long-term employee the chance to get used to the retirement. They pay their own insurance, so the city isn't paying any of their insurance or anything like that. Insurance is a big deal. It's very expensive, so it helps that person. And I feel like if somebody's going to work 30 some odd years for the city, that's the least that we can do for them. They have dedicated their life, half of their life or whatever, to the city. And a lot of them are employees, a lot of employees are hometown people who started right out of school and have done quite quite well for the city. So I hate to penalize them, and, you know, I wanted this to stay on. It doesn't mean that we have somebody right now that might want to retire, but you yourself have said you're looking forward to retiring, and you would be interested in that the last time I talked. Rachel, you know, just different people. So I wanted this program to remain I mean, you started in high school, you know, and look how long you've been here, and I think you've done exceptional.
You got here last week.
I'm not trying to
No.
be mean or anything like that. I'm just trying to say that you've done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
have advanced.
Yes.
You started in finance under the school
the-
project, what was it called?
It was the co-op. It was the
Co-op.
co-op program in high school.
And then you got hired full-time, and then you went on in to be city clerk and have done a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
So I just think that the city and the school does it too. I think that it's there, we can offer it. It doesn't mean anybody has to do it,
Correct.
but it's there for that.
Right.
I might think of something else.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think it's a good option. And back when we did it, it also saved the city money. And we were able to keep employees that were tenured and had experience. So it worked both ways. And correct me if I'm wrong, but at that time, the employee becomes an at-will employee.
That is correct.
And so they're not protected under the system. So if we decide, sorry, but we can't fund that, you know, we just like a Kelly employee.
Right.
You know, they're let go. At the same time, they can do the same thing. They can say, I don't want to work anymore, and they terminate their contract, but because they're already technically retired.
Correct.
But even under the state retirement system, you can leave the state, work for another city that's not under the state retirement or even private, and then come back in a year and work right back in the city. That's allowed under the law right now. So all this does, it just allows us to keep a tenured employee to help us, you know, at a lesser rate, 80% of their pay, continue to go and maybe train someone else as they're getting ready to phase out. And so they're able to train and get everything ready to go and you know, exit when they want. But it's a two-way street. We have to be able, the city wants to have to do that too. It's just not the employee's choice. So the city has to want to, you know, do that. Okay, it works for both sides. So that's what I like about it. I think it's just an option, you know, and it's only benefits the city and maybe one or two people at the most. There aren't that many people with that much tenure, really. I don't think we have that much. I mean, we have Norma, but.
Well, I've already been directed by the mayor that I couldn't retire.
But anyway, that's just my 2 cents, and
We'd have to hire 5 people to replace Norma. We can't afford that.
Couldn't afford it.
She was old enough anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, I don't know why if somebody wants to retire, why don't they just retire? I mean, in my eyes, I mean, if a person gets ready to retire, I mean, and you do a transition in retirement, I mean, I'm already transitioning into retirement 5 years from now, so when I get ready, I'm gonna be ready to be gone. I don't know, I don't have an opinion right now on it. You can look at it two ways. You can look at it as, you know, you might lose somebody that might be a good employee that you don't know about, that, you know, you're not hiring that employee because this one employee is still working. I know there's pros and cons to everything, and right now, I just personally think that if you're getting ready to retire, why don't you just retire? Why keep on working? Even though it's 80% less than you're making now, I mean, when a guy makes his decision to retire, retire. And if you made the wrong decision, go back after a year or find another job somewhere else. I mean, when I get ready to retire, I'm going to retire. I'm not going to have one foot in the door and one foot out the door, you know. Anyways.
I think it sounds like a win-win. If you're happy with that retirement period. Norma, if you were saying, I'd like to have that option, and the city's going to save money with it, I don't see why we wouldn't want to offer that.
Well, if you combine what everybody said, I agree. Bottom line is it's just another option that we have to offer. Next Thursday, we have a couple of guys, is it Thursday, there's a retirement?
This Thursday.
I mean, and I recall, it wasn't that many meetings ago, I think there's somebody up here said that there's nobody that can't be replaced, and to a certain extent, that's true. But you can't bring a couple of 19 or 20-year-olds in and put them where Felix and Juan are at and expect you're going to get the same results. So my thought is, I kind of agree with you, and your point is taken exactly well from me. Everybody is different, and that's why I think the program should exist, to see if it's an option. That's my thing, is I don't think a lot of people will even do it. But it's kind of like the drop program for the law enforcement. And most of the guys, you get a 5-year window that you can keep working, and your money goes into the kitty as opposed to you're taking it home. And half of those guys only make it 2 years. I mean, they say, I've had enough, and they go. So if I had to look at it, I'd say it's another thing that we could offer our employees. Because sooner or later, we're not going to have a whole lot of things. I mean, I don't know that anybody's going to go somewhere and work 30 or 35 years anymore. But in the event that they do, maybe they should have that option if they want to stay. And if not, I don't know. But there'll be other guys sitting up here one of these days. But maybe we ought to continue to look at it. I mean, that would be what I would say. So, anyway.
So this would come back to you in May, because it would start July 1 with a new SmartWorks program.
May's a lifetime away for this council, Bob.
Yeah.
So.
But, sometime.
He might decide to go on SmartWorks or something, but anyway.
Yeah, because SmartWorks.
I didn't know that was a possibility.
80% of your pay.
I just have one thing to add. I want to make sure that when we do this, that that the employees know that they are in the at-will status, so they don't get comp time and that kind of stuff, right?
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, that is correct. They're in the at-will status, but some of the participants in the program now were on call and were on a comp time. They were receiving it. So it was a little bit challenging to manage. I don't want to say there was any issues. It's just flexing out the time and not being able to pay that overtime. So the director or the supervisor had to make sure any on-call or overtime was flexed out.
Now, Norma, being on the SmartWorks program, does that increase, like if you were 3 years away to stepping up to the next multiplier in retirement?
There's no more that doesn't count.
No.
You're retired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, you're retired. You're working through a contract. with the
Okay.
city.
Right, no.
Just kind of gives the employee that year, or, I mean, a few years ago, they had up to 3 years, but that year to get used to paying their own insurance. I mean,
So is it a 1 year thing, or is it a 3 year thing?
Well, that's up to
or-
the council,
Okay. Okay.
what we decide, but the 1 year, I guess they could come back and ask to be renewed or whatever, but
Okay.
I just thought that the program is an excellent program, and I didn't want to see it go away.
Well, I'm sure we'll see something on it again before May.
Yeah, well,
That's the direction of the council, yes. We can bring it back before May.
it
but
just
we-
takes effect July 1.
Yeah.
Can I get
Whatever
can I get
July.
guidelines and everything?
Not past July, but
The upcoming July,
Upcoming
July
July.
of 2000.
That's SmartWorks' request, is that it go from July 1 to June of the following year. So the new SmartWorks agreement, that if you decide to approve it, would be effective July 1.
I'd like to get a packet on that if I can, and that explains everything about it, if I
Okay.
could, please.
Sure.
So if there was.
Council can't retire.
Well, as long as Steve's
If
there.
there was any employee that's in that SmartWorks right now, they could not ask to be renewed.
Right, their contract ends December 31st, I
That is
think.
correct, Vice Mayor Henry.
Yeah.
They were made aware that when they entered into this program, the contract had ended December 31st. So those contracts are up.
It's Juan and
Employees right now, one.
There's three.
Yeah.
There's 3 employees.
Well, I need
Felix and Juan, if you guys are around at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning
Thursday and
over at the
noon
Public
on Friday.
Workshop, and then noon on Friday for Linda.
They're all retired.
Yeah, I
And
think,
Linda's is going to be at conference, in the
just wanted to
growth
add that,
management
yeah.
conference room.
Nothing I say is going to change anything ever. But
A good attachment for Linda. Yeah.
just want to make clarification because, of course, after I spoke, things were said. You know, in my personal opinion, I don't see not having the program as a punishment. In my opinion, becoming an at-will employee is more of a punishment than staying on the job at your regular rate and getting all the benefits and stuff. So, I mean, there's two sides of the coin. Each have their benefits. I mean, just how you look at it. Me not wanting the program isn't a lack of respect or lack of appreciation for the employees whatsoever. I think Coolidge has some of the best employees around. And I've said that before I was here, and I'll say that when I'm gone. I just think from a society as a progression thing, you know, you keeping people in places, you got the people at the bottom. That's why you have employees leave, because there's nowhere for them to go. And yeah, employee retires, it comes back at 80%. But the person taking their spot isn't necessarily going to make the same money that one was making anyway, so there's still savings. It's not a guaranteed 20% savings. That's just keeping that employee, you'll save 20%. The employee is going to give themselves one heck of a pay raise by doing this program, and I think that's why it's beneficial in that aspect. But as far as progression, and our job is we want to retain as many employees as we have, and I know we've lost people for this very reason, because where they want to go, they can't get there because you got people who just aren't leaving, and we're giving people an extra reason not to leave. I mean, if you spend 30 years in Coolidge, thank you for your service. Go enjoy your retirement. That's my thinking. But then again, I've got a long time before I retire. So, yeah, my opinion might change in 30 years. But now that's where I'm at. So I just wanted to clarify that. I don't think it's a punishment. I'm not against the employees or trying to improve their quality of life or anything. It's just, I think trying to keep our status going forward, I think it's good to not keep this program. So.
1 year.
Well, they can come back.
Okay.
But, yeah, let's move on.
I think
The
you
mayor's
found
gonna
out
get
what
into
you
it.
wanted to
I
find out.
have direction, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Item 24, consider approval of the claims for the month of November 2015. Anybody have any questions, concerns?
Make a motion to approve and pay our bills, sir.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, a report from Mayor and Council under City Manager. We'll start down here with Councilmember Lewis.
Yes, sir, thank you. I missed the last meeting, so I can't remember exactly the last couple months what I've done. Huh?
It was quiet.
I know, I bet it was. So, what did we have? Oh, we had the community softball event that myself, the mayor, and Huddleston, and maybe some others, the city staff involved. There's an event, I'm not sure if they talked about it last time or not.
Between now and then.
That's right. I was absent the last one, so I wasn't sure. A citizen, when I ran for office, this is something I talked about. So, and we had a citizen come meet with the mayor and the police chief, talking about how can we bring the community back in the police department and everyone together. And I think this was one giant step in the direction that we need to go. We didn't have major involvement from all the departments, but it was kind of put together the last minute. It was just a few weeks' notice. But the police department was heavily involved. Majority of those guys who could be there were. Citizens group showed up. The teams were mixed together, so we had city employees and council mixed in with citizens. PD, Officer Martinez cooked some pretty good food, and a good time was had. There's pictures on the Facebook page for the police department. I think it connected the citizens with who represents them, as far as police and council. So I think it was a good thing. The mayor and Mr. Payne and the police chief did a real good job on getting that to happen. I think next time Mr. Fitzgibbons needs to come play with us, but and make sure that the game's legal.
Speed on the bases.
Yeah. I missed the Christmas at the Village this Saturday. I think it was the same day as the softball thing, wasn't it?
No.
No? I don't even know what day it is anymore. It's rain. I can't even think of it. That's I want to we have this is our only meeting of the month. We have Christmas coming up, so I'd like to extend Merry Christmas to all citizens, city staff. Hope everybody enjoys the holidays. I know that we get a few days off, or the city does. And today actually marks 1 year since 3 of us have been on the council. And I could tell you it's been a year beyond what I imagined. We jumped right into some pretty heated issues, and all I can say is keep the seatbelts on because the ride's not over. I look forward to 3 more. That's all I got. Thank you.
Mayor?
I attended the softball game. I did not play, though, but I was there in support.
You cheered. You cheered.
I cheered. I cheered for everybody. And I thought it was really good. I was hoping that there would have been a better turnout, but hopefully next year there'll be more people. And hopefully we'll get the press out there next year. I wasn't able to go tonight. My nephew Tanner graduated from fire school at Pima College. So I just wanted to tell him good luck and congratulations and tell everybody Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Okay. Councilmember Lopez?
Thank you, Mayor. I just also wanted, I attended the honor wall ceremony we had with the mayor, Mr. Rodriguez's house, and then I attended the Artisan Village Christmas, and it was really amazing. And Rick was there, and we had some gentleman, and Rick, his name escapes me, but Tom Labonte, yes, and he brought some really cool minerals that he donated to and some are on loan, and these are really good. And I really found out a lot about the mayor's mining experience, so that was really cool. He's got a lot of years in that kind of knows a lot about minerals and gems too. So that was pretty cool. But it's been really interesting with that kind of thing. So it was really nice, and a lot of people were very involved, and also. The choir that was there from the church group was just outstanding. They were really nice. We were all sitting there listening, and it was raining, cloudy, but everybody was really happy and had a good time. So I just want to thank everybody that attended. Thank you. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Everybody have a safe one. Thank you.
Well, I missed all the activities 2 Saturdays ago because in the private sector, you don't get every Saturday off. So I had to work and collect sales tax for the city of Coolidge. And I did a pretty good job.
Fine job, Steve. Fine job.
And last Saturday, I couldn't attend the Artisan Village, Christmas in the Village, because I went to the Polar Express with my granddaughters. And if you ever get an opportunity, go to it. It's well worth it. It was a fantastic time. Got a little snow. And and I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy and safe New Year.
I keep my eye on the national scene. I'm sure that many of you do too. And things can blow up for a city, a little bitty city can be on the national map in a heartbeat. I want to thank Jack Payne for trying to bridge the gap as far as relationships between police and the community. I just thought that was an outstanding softball day. I went to that and enjoyed it thoroughly, met Jack and talked to him a little bit, and I just thought he did a great job trying to bridge the gap and bring the community together with the police department so that there would be a good relationship, so that here in Coolidge, if something were ever to happen, it doesn't have to be like what we see all over the place. We can come together. And so thank you, Jack Payne and Jim, the police chief. That is just excellent. It was a good softball day, good tradition to start. Other than that, I'd just like to say Merry Christmas. Remember, Jesus is the reason for the season.
That sounded good. The reason for the season.
Mr. Flatley?
Yeah, Councilman Huddleston, that was pretty brave of you to talk about your team that lost to the mayor.
They did lose.
I didn't
Struck out like 4 times.
The mayor is 1-0 right now. He's undefeated, but his team won. Anyway,
we weren't keeping score.
So, tomorrow we have the Coolidge Economic Development Committee meeting at 11:30 at Artisan Village, in case you're up and around and interested. Otherwise, and there's a chamber luncheon at Artisan Village on Wednesday at noon. But Thursday morning at 10 a.m., again, you're invited to stop by the Public Works shop and wish Juan and Felix a happy retirement. And then Friday at noon over to the Growth Management Conference Room for Linda's retirement. So And everybody have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Thank you, Bob.
He's not even waiting. Merry Christmas,
Merry
George.
Christmas, George.
I'm glad you tested it out, because if you don't
Yeah.
die, I'll eat mine.
Great. This is great.
I just, it has been a year, and it's been a very interesting year for me, as it has been for others here on the council. I want to, first and foremost, thank the city staff. There's been a lot of changes. We've demanded a lot of things from them, and they've come through on various and different fronts. I know they didn't always appreciate some of the things that we asked them to do, but they got them done. And I think this coming year will be even better. We'll see more things. We're starting to see businesses come into town, even to downtown. The roads are getting redone. There's a lot of positive things going on in Coolidge. And you know, I guess you can't believe everything you read in the papers, but we're not very popular if you read the Examiner. But, you know, I would say that I appreciate the hard work that this council's done. It's not easy to come in and have 3 new members and change everything. And it's a learning curve, and it takes a while. I mean, Gilbert and some of these other guys, Steve and Jackie, have been on here for a long time. And I mean, for me, I've been familiar with government, and it took me a year to get geared up and see how things really worked. So I expect that there may always be controversy, but I think at least there'll be a more educated type of controversy with this council. I do think things will be done a lot better. I expect to see some progress next year. And I really wanted to thank the staff and the council and the citizens of Coolidge. It's always good to have somebody come down and interview guys in front of Walmart, and somebody that's probably not even from Coolidge, and listen to what they got to say about Coolidge. But I think we're going in the right direction. Nobody likes change, a lot of times, including myself. But I think that you can see some things happening. For many years, you didn't see a lot of things happening. So I want to thank everybody, wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and I look forward to having a good 2016. And in saying that, I would look for a motion to...
Motion to adjourn, sir.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? We're adjourned.